see from this, we've had an awful lot of fun in this campaign. And you guys in the media are probably going to miss me. But the reality is, you know, my family moved to this city. I quit my job, and I've spent every day for the last year campaigning for the office of mayor, along with the very good people that you see around me in this room, because we all saw things the same way. We saw the city we love in distress, and we thought that we could help, and we tried our very best to help. But yesterday, 2 judges out of 3 on the Court of Appeals ruled that I'm not properly on the ballot, and that's the ruling that they made. I've heard some criticism of campaign staff or lawyers, and there just isn't any merit to this. Is there anybody to blame but me? I read the charter language myself and handled the moving, establishing residency, the voter registration, and the filing. I read the charter language the same way the city's election director read it, the same way the former chair of the Charter Commission, Freeman Hendricks, read it, the same way the dean of the Wayne State Law School, Jocelyn Benson, read it. But the reality is 2 out of 3 judges on the Court of Appeals disagree with us. Never in my wildest dreams did I think you could be knocked off a ballot for filing petitions too soon. If I thought there had been any possibility, obviously I would have held on to them 2 weeks longer. But that is where we stand. And so now we just have to look at reality. And reality is that we were in a very close and tough campaign against a strong opponent. It was going to go down to the wire as it was, but the damage that has been caused by these court rulings saying that I wasn't on the ballot in the first place, I just think is too much to overcome. And so I don't see putting this town through another 4 or 5 months of a fight, either the Supreme Court were to reinstate me or if we were to try to run a write-in. I just don't think there's a viable path forward to winning. And so it's been a very difficult thing, because you can see the people in this room have done an extraordinary job. We've come from well behind in the polls to dead even without spending a single dollar on TV or radio. It's been done by this amazing campaign team and their efforts. And I think we'll always wish that the voters of Detroit could have made the decision for themselves and not have it be made by judges. But it is. This is where we stand, and there's no point in complaining about it. But last, I just want to thank the people in this community. If you look back a year or so ago on the headlines, all this stuff about the idea of a white mayor was seen as crazy by some people in the media. But all of you who have been with me have known I have been embraced with warmth and kindness in every single corner of this city. I haven't had a single bad experience. Not one time has anybody made me feel unwelcome or like I didn't belong. I have people who are supporting other candidates who came up and said, I'm really glad you're doing this. You're adding something to the campaign. And so I feel badly that I'm not going to get a chance to finish this out in the mayoral campaign. And I'm not sure what the future holds for me. But I really hope that I'm back in another role trying to help work with people of the city to rebuild Detroit. With that, I'll take any questions. It's just, it is a very complex thing. You got to find the spot on the ballot. You got to write it in. You got to educate people. It would have been an extremely difficult thing, and I just didn't see it as a viable option. I'm just not going to put people through something that I myself don't believe is going to be successful. When I started out in this, and some of you in the media said, what is he thinking, he's crazy, I always believed that the people of the city, if they had a chance to vote, would vote to elect me. But when I look at the write-in option, I just don't see that as a realistic option, and I just don't see putting the city through it.
Mike, can you tell us more about your decision not to go to the Supreme Court? Did you think that legally you couldn't prevail, or you just felt it wouldn't have been worth it even if you won?
I don't know whether it could have prevailed or not, but if I had, I think the damage to the campaign, you've already seen the super PAC ads start up about he wasn't legally in the city and that kind of stuff. I just think once you've had 2 court rulings say that you weren't legally on the ballot, that's just so impaired the campaign. It would have been extremely difficult to come back from, and I was in a very close and tough race to start with. So I just didn't see that practically the campaign was going to be successful after the second ruling.
Mike, are you suggesting that people not write your name on the ballot?
Well, I don't intend. I'm not going to write my name on the ballot, so I'm not encouraging anybody else to do it.
Okay. Do you plan to stay in Detroit?
Oh, yes.
Maybe run again?
Well, I'm certainly staying in Detroit, right? We're not moving, are we?
No.
Okay. I'm certainly staying in Detroit, and I expect to be active in this community as I have been for the last 30 years, and I'm going to be active in doing everything I can to contribute to Detroit's future. But I never wanted to go back into politics, and I was reminded this week why I didn't. But I just wanted to help, and I just really felt with this city this close to bankruptcy, at the time I got in, I actually thought I might be able to head off the emergency manager. I really thought I could help. And I'm going to try to find another way to help. So I'm not leaving the city, but I don't see running for office again. That's not something that's very appealing right now.
There's a lot of folks support behind any candidate that's currently out there.
I don't know. I may at some point.
There's some who say the situation reveals a deeper issue with the language and the wording of the actual charter and how it was drafted. What do you say to that?
You know, there's no question there are flaws in the charter. There are also no question that the courts in this state don't give sufficient weight to voters being allowed to decide things for themselves. But I knew both of those things, and I only blame myself. I should have not given them any chance to twist it in a way to take it off the ballot. I should have held the petitions 2 weeks longer and not given them a chance. But I don't blame anybody else for that.
So, Mike, that 2 weeks made the difference.
There's no doubt about it. Everybody's acknowledged. If I had held the petitions instead of filing them April 2nd, gone in and filed them on April 16th, everybody agrees I was legally on the ballot. So I am the first candidate I've ever heard of to be knocked off the ballot for filing petitions too early, and that's just the reality of where we are. I never thought a court would do it, but we've now had 2 courts rule that. And
why did you file early?
you know, there really wasn't any good reason. If you read the clerk's instruction manual, they encourage you to file early to give you more time. They sent me a letter in the mail saying, please file early to give us time to review these signatures. And it's the first time in my life I ever did anything early. I'm going.
Candidates trust the clerk's office judgment on these matters?
You know, I can tell you, the election director at the clerk read the law exactly the same way I did, and the same way the city law department did, the same way the election commission ruled. So I don't blame the clerk on this. If I'd have been sitting in the election director's seat, I would have come to the same conclusion the city election director did. I don't blame them for what they did.
Mike, do you owe your supporters at least an attempt to take this to the Supreme Court?
Well, we took it to the Court of Appeals,
Right,
but you know, you can ask the supporters how they feel. The problem becomes if the Supreme Court places me back on the ballot and the campaign has been permanently damaged by the 2 court rulings, am I putting my supporters through 4 months of effort for something that can't be won? And that's the deeper question. And that's ultimately, the question is not whether the Supreme Court will put me on or not, but has the campaign been so badly damaged we can't recover from it? And I just, in my heart, I don't believe we can recover from it, and I don't know how I can ask anybody else to go out and work for me. When I started this campaign and people said a white guy can't run for mayor, I absolutely believed in my heart I could win this election, and I had no problem going and asking other people for help. Now, after 2 rulings, I just don't feel like I can, and I can't in good conscience go ask the good people behind me who are ready to go work. I mean, they'd like to. Right. But if I don't, I'm a campaign manager. If I don't see a way forward, I just don't know how I can ask anybody else to do it.
Mike, at what point will you endorse another candidate,
I don't-
or do you plan to?
I don't know. If another candidate asks me, I might. I'm obviously going to vote for one of them, and we'll see what happens. But my guess is I'll probably end up supporting another candidate.
Do you have any thoughts on Tom Barrow's comments about the clerk having to resign and just his entire issues with bringing this entire thing to life?
Tom Barrow's ambition in life is to be mayor of Detroit, and letting the voters make the decision hasn't really worked out for him. But he's done tactically what he needs to do to get closer to his ambition. I don't blame him for that. I do fault him for some of the hateful and divisive language that we've heard. But the voters are going to take care of that themselves, because one thing I'm sure of is this city wants a mayor who is going to unify and put the divisive politics of the past behind us. And I think the voters will speak loudly when they get a chance.
Mike, even after all this, do you still believe that there's a real substantive role for a mayor to play in what a lot of people are calling Kevin Orr's city?
Not until Kevin Orr's gone. No. The question was, I believed I could get the emergency manager out earlier, and I think they're going to have a hard time getting the emergency manager out, even though I have no doubt that they're sincere today about saying 18 months. I will predict to you that about 12 months from now, they're going to be saying the problems are worse than we thought, and they're going to take longer than we thought. We're going to stay longer than we thought. I don't think they're intentionally lying today, but I just think that's the likely outcome. And I think had I been there, I probably could have successfully moved the emergency manager out. But maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe it'll be fine.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you all very much.